Well, good afternoon. It is Friday afternoon with Col. You're in Col's bar. That's how I know it's Friday afternoon, because I'm in the bar. I spend a lot of time in here listening to records and playing music. It doesn't just have to be Friday afternoon though. It could be any afternoon, evening, or any time of the day. It's a little early on Friday afternoon, so I'm drinking coffee at the moment. But today we're going to talk in detail about a brand new album, a reissued album by The New Toys. Before we get to that though, I just want to talk about a couple other things. Quite close to me where I live, it's like 10-15 minutes away, there's a second-hand record store. And I picked up a couple of things this morning. I picked up the Dave Edmunds Information album from 1983, which I had. So Dave Edmunds, Ian Hunter, Neil Young, those three guys are in my top five. Kevin Kay is number one of that top five. But these other three guys are right in there as well. I had all the Dave Edmunds albums. I had all the Ian Hunter albums, and I sold some of them over the years, so I've been back rebuilding. So this one I picked up this morning for $10, and it's still sealed. So what's amazing for me about that is it's an American pressing, so it's got a slightly different album cover. But $10, 1983 prices. And then I've been listening to this album a lot lately, digitally, by Henry Gross. And Henry Gross, I guess, was in one of those, I suppose, 50s revival bands in the early 70s. Shana Na, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But he released this great album, guitar-based album called Plug Me Into Something in 75. And it's a great record, great guitar, hard rock, melodic hard rock, with a lot of great hooks and a lot of great vocals. He's a great vocalist. So again, I found this for like $5. And again, this was an American pressing. So that's pretty cool. So I picked those up. They are subjects for another day. But today I'm not going to talk about that. The subject of today is this. So we're talking about those other years then, 83 Dave Edmunds and 75 for Henry Gross. Well, let's go back to some of the great years of powerpop. So 79 to 82 were stellar years for powerpop. With many pundits nowadays looking back with a great deal of affection for bands such as The Knack, The Romantics, Nick Lowe, Greg Kihn, Dwight Twilley, etc. Phil Seymour, of course, that great album, he was in Dwight Twilley. Who are all giants of that genre, the power pop genre. And lesser known bands such as, say, 2020, The Shoes, The Records, The Beat. I could keep going. There's a ton of great power pop bands from that sort of period. But people look back at those sort of years and those bands with a great deal of affection. And some of those lesser known bands also hold their place amongst those other bands, and are held in high regard by power pop fans. But there was one band who existed in New York City, even though their formative years were upstate New York, and more people need to know about, and that is this band called The New Toys. So The New Toys released, this album, Say It, and it is a stupendous album of melodic power pop in 1982. And the really, really great news, so this is the original album, which came out. I've got two copies of this. This is a sealed copy, which is unopened. I don't play this, I just kept it, picked up two copies. So, yeah, as I said, they're really great. So it's been out of print for a long, long time. And what's really great is that it's been recently reissued a couple of months ago by 13th Street Records, with all the songs having been restored, remixed and remastered from the original multi-track tapes. So I guess to say the album sounds sonically superb is an understatement. And aside from the original 10 tracks on the album, originally released on the album, there's also 4 bonus tunes with the entire package presented in a digipack format. Okay, with all the original sleeve artwork having been meticulously reproduced, so it looks and sounds, stunning. So in terms of context, I guess you can't talk about the New Toys without talking about the band that came before the New Toys, and that was obviously the Toys. So the Toys played great original pop punk, formed out of Buffalo in upstate New York in the late 1970s by brothers Kevin Kay and Alan Kay. So Kevin Kay, alias Kevin Starr, on drums and vocals, and Alan Kay, alias Rocky Starr, on guitar and vocals. So that band was formed after the dissolution of their previous band, Aunt Helen. So joining the Toys were Doug Tyler, also known as Mick Tyler, on vocals and guitar, and Joel Slazik, aka Meat Cleaver, on vocals and bass. Have a look at the sleeve back there. You can see all the band's pictures. So the New Toys' first gig was at the famous McBand's Capricorn Club, one of the premier punk venues in Buffalo in the late 70s. The band's popularity grew due to their outlandish theatrics, dynamic stage presence, and strong original material. Now, musically, the New Toys sound was kind of like an amalgam of early Alice Cooper, the Dead Boys, and the Tubes, which is quite a cocktail. The band gigged relentlessly as momentum grew, packing out clubs in Buffalo and Toronto, Albany, Fredonia, and Rochester. And it wasn't long after they opened for Pat Benatar at Stage 1 Club in Buffalo that local concert promoter Eddie Tice approached them about being their manager. Eddie Tice at that time was managing Tallis, who of course featured Billy Sheehan, who most people know went on to be David Lee Roth and Mr. Big. So during that time, sort of late 1980 into 1981, the Toys were opening for such acts as Split Enz, New Zealand band, the Romantics, the Tourists, who went on to be the Eurythmics, Squeeze, and Bauhaus. So for more Toy stories, I encourage you to purchase a copy of Kevin Kay's book, Hey Aunt Helen, Living Fast on the Road to CBGB. That book has a ton of great stories and history about the Toys and the New Toys. So I'll put a link to that book where you can pick that up. It's available via everywhere, Amazon, etc. So I guess I'll continue with the context and the scene setting. So by late 81, early 82, for those who can remember, the winds of musical change were blowing, ushering in more new wave sounds as the embers of the punk scene, I guess, began to die out. And despite heavy touring and playing in places like Boston, Cleveland, Detroit, more and more in New York City, in an attempt to gain new audiences, the Toys recognised the changing music scene early on, and they embraced the sound of the sort of oncoming power pop / new wave era. And this ethos was reflected in their 1982 album Say It, which is what we're here to talk about today. So though Say It maintained some of the band's signature punk elements, some of the Toys' signature punk elements, with the gritty power pop of the Kay brothers evident, it also leaned into the mainstream of power pop. And shortly after the album's release, the New Toys relocated to New York City with their first gig at CBGB's on December 20, 1982. So, as history has shown, the group eventually became friends with artists such as Dirty Looks, who are on Stiff Records, Johnny Thunders, Cheetah Chrome, and Iggy Pop, as they began to play regularly at places like CBGB's, Gildersleeves, the Peppermint Lounge, and Zappers. So again, this context is just to give you that sort of scene setting before we talk about the songs on this album and tell you why it's such a great album. But again, you can read a stack of those stories and things about the New Toys, and biographies about the New Toys, biographies about the Toys, Kevin and Alan Kay and all their bands, Lone Cowboys, etc., on the 13th Street Records website, 13th Street Records, who's released this album. So I just want to give a big shout out to the guy who does and runs 13th Street Records, which is Ted Stearns, who's done a simply magnificent job in that website, 13th Street Records website. In terms of information, it is exhaustive and it's worthwhile checking out. So I encourage you to, I'm going to put the link there, to head to studio13.nyc for more detail. So, onto the album. Okay. So, as I said, you know, the album itself is a digipack, and it does have all the original sleeve artwork, and it's been lovingly reproduced. And the first song, which is the title song, is an absolute monster, the song Say It. I mean, right out of the blocks, super catchy, short and sharp, and a ton of melody. Doug Tyler on vocals, nice breakdown in the middle, harmonies. This has all the ingredients to make it a timeless pop classic. And, you know, the new production value really adds significantly in terms of lifting the sound. So, I mean, that song in itself is superb, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Rodney Bingenheimer recently played that tune on his underground radio show only last week. So if it's good enough for Rodney, it should be good enough for you too. So let's take a listen to about 30-40 seconds of that. This is the first song from the album, so this is the New Toys with Say It. Like I said, an absolute massive tune. Second tune in is called Wrong Side of You, and this is all sort of new wave influences, but very, very punchy. A great Alan Kay vocal, super strong chorus, multi-layered harmonies, you know, as you'd expect. The harmonies that these guys produce were just, you know, phenomenal. And this is really, really tight power pop. You know, as is the next number, which is Watching You, which is quite possibly my favorite tune on the album. You know, again, straight out of the blocks, it's bam, you know, locked into the groove, and it's all solid pop rock foundation, great use of hooks and melody. These guys had all these sort of elements on a string, all the great ingredients, and I think Watching You, it's like a dance floor hit that never happened. Super radio friendly. Yeah, how this was not a hit in 1982, I don't know. Doug Tyler's highly charged use of rhythm and melody on this tune is stunning. I mean, what more can I say about that tune except it's massive? So let's take a listen to that one as well.
I've been watching you. Why don't you give me a clue? Tell me, how do I get through?
Time Will Tell is reminiscent of the Toys' early material. It's an Alan Kay vocal, but again, super catchy and super infectious with pop-led hooks, great harmonies, great harmonica intro too, actually. The Brooding It's Over is next. Another great Alan and Kevin Kay tune with Doug Tyler on vocals. This is more a melancholic, bluesy post-punk tune driven by jagged guitars and a darker theme, but it's also a great tune. Let's listen to a little bit of It's Over.
You can't read me like a book. So many things have gone bad, like everything I once had. I'm ready to jump from this ledge. I'm so close to the edge. You've gone and pushed me too far. Do you know what you really are? It's over, it's over. You made me say it's over, it's over. Now I'm always on the
So Let Me Down is the next tune, and that opens with a sort of boisterous Kevin Kay drum intro, and it's again great sort of post-punk with a big chorus. This was also recently re-recorded by Kevin on and appears on his Cadillac Man album from a couple of years ago. So it's a timeless tune, and it just hasn't aged, that tune. Like all these songs, they all sound great regardless of the calendar sort of ticking over. I really dig the catchy and clean power pop of Where You Going. I mean, man, Doug Tyler really had it on a string back then in terms of sort of songwriting, and I guess songwriting with melodic sensibility. The harder-edged Please Come Home is another example of some of the great power pop he was writing at that period. Certainly a purple patch for him, and it's evident by his body of work that he produced on this Say It record. I absolutely love the jangle pop of No Not Again. Another great tune with an emphasis on hook and melody, exuberant new wave. That's sort of on par with anything coming out of the time, and that period when bands like, I guess, Blondie and the Cars were, the sort of upper echelons of power pop with a ton of melody, standard radio fodder. That period when those bands were sort of riding high, and if you dig all that sort of stuff and you love great power pop, this slots right into that sort of passage as well. So can you imagine, if I was thinking the other day, if Mike Chapman had have produced this album and added his magic? I mean, man, that's really something to ponder.
I've been trying for some time to get my life straight down the line. I say no, 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 not again. I quit my job, I'm sick of it. I get another one and it's the same old shit. I said no, 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 not again. No, no, not again. No, no, not again. Another show hits the TV screens. It's Marie, I've been so fancy free. I said no, 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 not again. She's young.
But again, the last tune on the album is the snarling punk classic FYYB, which is the bassist Meat Cleaver's signature tune, and man, this still cooks. So as a bonus, also included on the CD is the Toys' long out of print single from 1980, which was called Livin' Fast. And its B-side, I'm Telling You Now, again, remastered and sounding superb. 2 other tunes were recorded at the same session as those 2 songs that came out of the same sessions as that single, and they were Running Away and Instant Suicide. So this was sort of the second Toys single that never was included here on this album. These 4 songs from the Toys are high energy, heavy pop with a punk edge, and like everything else on the album, they sound absolutely killer. So that's the old and the new. You'd be lucky to find this one, but you can find this one with the extra tracks and the fantastic new production value. And I just can't speak highly enough about this record. So to summarize, I guess on this album, the hooks kind of cascade, and Doug Tyler and Alan Kay belt out the tunes with, sort of confident expressiveness, for want of a better term. There's pop roller coasters like the title tune, Say It, Wrong Side of You, or Watching You. They all illustrate that the band, had the songs to take them to the next level. Strong melodic lines and original catchy choruses. And what's comes through when you listen to those songs is the really tight vocal harmonies. They're really something else. So again, all the ingredients were there. The original songs were written by Alan Kay and Kevin Kay and Doug Tyler, and they're I guess a glorious sort of pastiche of period pop styles at that time, which was power pop / punk / new wave. And the remastered version, as I said, it puts both the hooks and the energy up front where they belong. And you end up with sort of like sheer power pop exuberance. So for sheer power pop exuberance, high energy, as soon as you press in the CD player, bam, it's just, upbeat and exuberant. It's a great sort of term. This album is hard to beat. So I guess more than 40 years after its original release, the Say It album stands up as an exhilarating power pop record that has stood the test of time. And I don't think there can be a better sort of testament to the quality of the songs than that. Thanks to 13th Street Records, this killer album is now available again for new ears to discover. So if I was going to rate this, I'd give this top marks. This is 10 out of 10. And I encourage you to check it out. The Say It album is soon available worldwide by MVD distribution. But for purchasing details, please head to studio13.nyc, which is the website. I'll put that in the show notes as well. And it's also available on all streaming platforms for you to listen to. But again, it's a no risk purchase. So again, new Toys, Say It. Check it out. You won't regret it. Thanks for watching. My name is Colin Gray. We will check you again later.